Okay, analytical geometry. We are busy getting the combination exercises now. What have you been taught a lot? Gradient, distance, and midpoint was from last year. But all the time, equations of straight lines as well. But the new thing that came in is that you can get a degree for the angle that the line makes with the positive x-axis, which we call the inclination. So from the positive x-axis to wherever your line is a certain degrees. Now if they give it to you, they're actually giving you the gradient. How do you get to the gradient? By saying tan of 145 equal to the gradient. How do you get that? Normal. What's your tan? Normal tan. And what's the answer, please?
Negative 0.7.
0.7 what? 0. And it doesn't matter if they say 1 decimal, you go 1 decimal over here, that'll be fine because they never indicated anything. So now I've got my gradient. The question was find the equation of the line. Normally we say 2 points, get the gradient. The gradient you got here by using the inclination angle. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
So for the equation, you've got y equal to mx plus c. So we're still short, just like in the functions, we only short the c value, namely, how do we find it?
Y-intercept.
Substitute the only point that you've got, namely,
Negative
1 and 3. So negative 1 in the place of x and 3 in the place of y, which gives me then, and you can do it in less steps and more steps, it doesn't matter. That's not going to be worth marks. When I take it across, it's going to be c is equal to 2,3. Am I right?
Yes.
Am I finished?
No.
Don't forget to answer the question. The question was, get the equation of the line, which then would be y is equal to negative 0.7, which I find with inclination, and then 2,3. Does it kind of look like it's correct? Okay, what does that 2,3 mean? That's the y-intercept, which you should know. Right, then we get to the mixed combination exercises, which this one has still got very little of grade 11 in it. Will you still be asked the basic grade 10 stuff?
Yes.
Okay. Now it said to me, if I give you all the work on that's indicated on the sketch, so A and B and C, which is a triangle, I've given you all of the vertices, I've given you all of those coordinates. First question, find the midpoint of AB, which is this one. Doesn't it remind you of something in geometry grade 10?
Yes.
Namely, the midpoint theorem. If this line is parallel to the third one and it bisects, then what should happen over here? It should do the same. And can you use some geometry inside of analytical?
Yes.
And some trig inside of analytical, and some algebra, graphs and stuff inside of analytical. So you cannot say, this is my section of work and it's got nothing to do with anything else. There's always some sort of an overlap. And you're allowed to use something from trig if it works for your analytical. Okay, so that's geometry here. I don't know what they're going to do later on, but we'll see. Is there the midpoint theorem? Definitely. But to find the midpoint, how do I do that?
Say x.
Formula?
X1 plus x.
You add the x's together, divided by 2. Do you need to still show me that formula? Please get into the habit of not doing that. It takes too much time. So you're adding, we're looking for AB. AB, you're adding the x's together and getting 8. And divide by 2 is? Oh, I can't divide. 8 divided by 2 and then I write 2 is 4. 15. What do I do with the minus 2? You add them and you get 13. And divide by 2?
6.
Okay, can you just write 13 over 2? No problem. 6.5, that's fine. So you've got 4 and 13 over 2, which is 6.5, and it should make sense. That y value is 15. This one is 6.5, you say. This one is negative 2. It kind of looks like it's in the correct order. But basically you're just doing a transformation. So I only need for 2 marks to get that answer. If I give you 3 marks for it, it'll be because you used the midpoint. The whole midpoint idea would give you 3 marks. Finding the gradient. We haven't done it there. Well, we did, but we did inclination to find the gradient. This time, to get the gradient of mn, what am I going to use? Yes, exactly. You were a step ahead of me. Can I use the gradient formula then between m and n? Nope. There is no n. But what you're using, I'm hearing, is parallel lines. So then rather just work out the gradient of BC. Look what I'm writing, and please be careful. That's a capital letter for midpoint, small letter for gradient. Gradient of MN, again the capital letters. Small letter gradient of capital letters BC. Are you with me? Why are they equal? Because they are parallel. So you find BC's gradient by doing y2 minus y1. Do you need to write that all the time? Okay, it's not a bad thing, but because you can leave it away. And if you do that with B and C, which one are you going to start off with? If you say 15 minus 3, which is the y values, then you must say 2 minus minus, which will become a plus. That gives me 12 over 6, which gives me 2. Does 2 feel right? Show me a gradient of 2.
It's positive.
Positive? I'm not exactly sure how positive, but it's positive. At least it's positive. If I didn't make a mistake, some sort of a thing. That's it. Now the question was, find the gradient. You just had to make the connection with BC because it was parallel. And what's the connection if things are perpendicular?
The answer should give you later.
Okay, so if this was my one line, the other one, it's perpendicular to it, has a gradient of? The one is 2, the other one is?
Negative 1 over 2.
Negative 1 over 2. I'm so glad you're not saying negative 2. Plus 2 over 1, negative 1 over 2, if they are perpendicular. Right. Right, carrying on with the rest of the question. Normally, this is how it comes in a paper. You've got a sketch and all sorts of stuff to go to work on. So now the next part of the question says we've just done the gradient of Mn. Now they're asking me, and listen to their wording. Hence, or otherwise. What does the word hence mean? Find me the gradient of Mn and hence give me Mn's equation. What does it mean? So it follows up on the previous question. Hence means, I've explained all of this, and now following up on that, use what I've just done to find the next question. Now they say hence, or otherwise if you want to. So you can do your own stuff, but hence means you can use the previous one, which is logical. If I want Mn's equation, there's Mn's gradient. So please use that immediately and say 2x plus c. So you're following up on that. So you already got that. Also they said find the equation in the form. Do they have to say that? No, they don't. They can just say find the equation of the line, and you've got to know it's mx plus c. And again, we need our c value. Don't I have it? For some reason. Now remember, we're busy with this line. I don't have it. It's not even cutting through the x and y axis. It's not long enough. So what point are you going to substitute? The 4 and the 13 over 2. So what's man got to do? CA, whatever nonsense you did over here, I've got to follow it through here. Okay, so then you're going to have 13 over 2 in the place of y and 4 in the place of x, plus your c. I've left 2 little space. And then this will become positive 8, negative 8. Please tell me what is 13 over 2. I'm not sure. Just check up on me, please. I think so. So that's your equation. Can somebody just confirm for me? So 13 over 2 minus 8 is negative 3 over 2. Right, so that my equation then for Mn would be 2x negative 3 over 2. So if I did extend that a little bit and cut there by negative 3 over 2, did you understand what it means?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now the last 2 questions, and guys, I think they're a little bit crazy, but there was a time when they did it on a different way until everybody got with the program and saw how transformations work. They gave 4 marks for the next question. Find me n's coordinates. Because the way we want to do it, how will I find n's coordinates?
Midpoint.
How? Because you know the translation of what? That this is also the midpoint. So you're using the fact that this is a midpoint. How else could you have done it? You could have gotten the equation of this line and the equation of mn, because n is where they intersect. But can you imagine that sum? Luckily you've got this equation, but you're still going to have to go get this equation, which takes another 2 marks. Then put them equal to each other like simultaneous equations. But if you had realized this was the midpoint theorem, then you know but n is the midpoint of C and A. So you're going to get the marks for saying it's the midpoint of C and A. Are you going to get a mark for that?
No.
Nope, because it's not geometry. We don't give marks for geometry reasons inside of analytical. But the fact is that n is the midpoint of C and A. And how do I get that?
Add the x
Add together gives you 2 divided by 2 is?
1.
So 1. Take the y values, add them together. 3 and minus 2 gives you
1.
1. Divided by 2
The half.
is a half. So that should be by 1 and a half. 4 marks. Crazy. I would never give it 4 marks. Okay, but lucky for you, because it was actually easy. Then the one that Bam loves to ask as well is if they say ABCD is a parallelogram. That must be crazy. I don't see a parallelogram. So, read the question. A, B, C. Where must D be to make a parallelogram?
Down.
Must be somewhere over here. A, but you read it. A, B, C, D. Because if they had said A, C, B, D, it would have been somewhere over here.
Yes.
Because it's very important that they give it to you in a certain order. I can't talk about A, B, D, C. Any which way I like. It's got to be A, B, C. So D must be somewhere down here. And what do we use to get it? A translation, because they're telling me that it's a crucial. I can't just make any quadrilateral do this. But if it's a parallelogram, in other words, also a rhombus, also a square, also a rectangle, you'll have the same translation taking place in one of 2 ways. Now we're going to choose. Are we going to say the same thing that happened from B to A will happen from C to D? Are you with me here?
Yes.
I'm going to try and sketch, but I'm not sure. Okay, let's make that D. So if I do the translation from B to A, what did I do from 2 to 4? From 2 to 6. You added 4. So you've got to add 4. So this should be 0. So my sketch is definitely wrong. It should have been on here. And I'm not going to try and sketch it, please. That's not the aim of this. So if I go from 2 to 6, it's 4 to the right. 4 to the right is by 0. But what did you do from 15 down to negative 2? 17 downwards. 17 downwards? That's it. 4 marks. Well, I'll take it. Okay, that's ridiculous. And if they do that, that's how your marks are going to look. So please don't always look at the mark allocation and think, no, there's too little work and too much work. Because they might have wanted you to do a longer explanation, and there's actually quite a shorter way. Because sometimes that happens, that they actually want to make it a difficult sum, and then some bright sparks like you see another way, and if it's right mathematically. Right, we're going to do another one of the mixed ones.